Johnson had given the investigation to the FBI on Friday, right after the shooting, and ordered the Dallas police to cease investigation and send all evidence to Washington. Hoover identified Oswald as the only suspect within 2 hours of the shooting, before Dallas police had verified their phony ID cards as those of Lee Harvey Oswald. The IDs pictured a look-alike. It was a total setup on Oswald. They had to kill him soon. Then Johnson sent the limo to the Ford plant at Dearborn, Michigan on Sunday to eliminate shot evidence, with a total remake of the limo. The mafia cut off the head of the dragon that was pursuing them, with mafia shooters in the plaza, and members of the media avoided elimination by the CIA or simply being fired. Ex-President Harry Truman got an article into the Washington Post 1 month after the assassination, berating the CIA for what they had become. Eisenhower had already warned the nation about a runaway defense establishment.
I come to you with a message of leave-taking and farewell. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals.
And John Kennedy expressed the same need to a gathering of news reporters.
I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed.
But neither president was able to stimulate the commercial media to fully inform the American people. Only viewer-sponsored PBS stations seem to carry the message, and even they hold back on the punch needed to wake up America. The presidents are saying to the people, be alert, be informed, respond, and compel the proper meshing of defense with peacetime goals. For 11 years straight, neither of these exceptional presidents could do it on his own. The people must act to throw off the monolithic conspiracy that causes the oppression, war, and bad economy of the country, and has taken us to the brink of collapse. Uncle Sam is almost buried in debt. The rate of accrual of debt has increased sharply over the last 33 years. Reagan kick-started the debt crisis during his 8-year term, doubling U.S. debt. G.H.W. Bush redoubled it in half the time. Clinton decreased the debt rate and created a surplus by the end of his 8-year term. Then George W. Bush gave money away to the military and the rich, redoubling our national debt in 8 years. Obama has redoubled the rate of loss of the U.S. government net worth for the benefit of the military, big oil, big banking, and the immense security forces of the CIA and contracted militias. They claim the people own the debt they created by feeding their own pockets. We need to compel a turnabout and throw out the crooks and murderers of the past 50 years and take back their illicit treasures created since Kennedy's death. In 1973, an abrupt decrease of 3% in world oil production trebled the price per barrel in oil, so all producers' profits skyrocketed until 1979, when they doubled again by another small decrease in world production. U.S. oil magnates noted that international conditions that stress Arab nations drive up the price of oil. So 9/11, followed by 2 bogus Mideast wars, has driven oil revenues over $3 trillion in recent years. So how do we get back to peace and prosperity? To start with, we need constitutional amendments to restrict presidential whims to boost oil profits while indiscriminately building an unsupportable militaristic empire. Second, we need a balanced budget with a specified surplus to start paying off the U.S. debt. People that block the path to these accomplishments should start dying. That's how important these measures are. Big Oil has delayed our conversion to solar electric power for 30 years now to support their greedy, self-centered, short-term goals. So let's unite behind these changes to push for peace and prosperity en masse, while unseating the members of the monolithic world conspiracy responsible for the world's conflicts. We need to add recall to the people's powers to be able to unseat any federal employee and to be able to unseat conspirators. We need to redefine the U.S. Armed Forces mission as protection of our sovereign nation, while abandoning the foolish and untenable empire-sized force structure of the day. We need to pull our forces out of foreign nations and encourage self-determination for each country. We need to stop military support of bad U.S. business deals worldwide and not facilitate the private rape of the planet for resources any longer. Here are 3 tools that may be used to balance the budget and restore the economy. Budget cuts directly reduce the deficit. Tax modifications may shift the tax burden and raise revenues. The increased revenue directly reduces the deficit or adds to the surplus, whichever the case. Creating jobs in the private sector at the low to middle class levels reduces welfare while directly increasing both goods and services and the money to buy them. Changing our defense strategy to protection of our sovereign nation and eliminating foreign operating commands, carrier task groups, and CIA dirty tricksters, we become militarily comparable to the other large nations. Social security for the very rich is not needed, and real cuts in medical are still needed. We should be able to cut about $1.1 trillion from the budget. The principles of tax modification should be sensible and pragmatic. First, it costs 2 administrative charges to collect taxes and then reallocate them back to those from whom taxes were collected for those who do not meet subsistence. It's more efficient not to tax those below subsistence to begin with. Secondly, it makes sense to take more only from those who have more, while we also want to leave the high end with some savings for reinvestment. The tax rates may then mirror the total income rates in comparison from rich to poor, while preserving the rich some savings. And thirdly, industry will thrive better with less Social Security and Medicare charges for their employees, allowing them to support more livable wages and earn more. Creating more and better paying jobs boosts the economy more than anything else. This is the best done from middle America on down, the lower half of the nation's employed people, and all the unemployed. The reason is that purchase dollars by these people drive the economy in a multiplicative way better than any other purchase source, sustaining the jobs made for themselves. Here's a purchase model to demonstrate this multiplicative feature that is so important to the nation's economy. The circled number 1 is where the starting purchase would be made at the business. The business takes in their $1 and gives them $1 of goods and services, shown here as G and S with an outgoing arrow. People receiving wages at that business at the position number 2 encircled will spend their wages on the economy in a like fashion, supporting other businesses, i.e. the dashed line box up above. Let's start over and show all the functions of a business. When one buys goods and services at a business, they use the money received for 4 different things. There are wages for employees, there's an overhead, there's some product replacement or supply purchases, and then there's savings. I've broken the 4 items into percentages of the incoming dollar as 30, 30, 30, and 10 to add up to 100%, or $1. Notice that only a dime goes into savings, while 90 cents goes to other businesses through employee purchases, replacement goods at another company, electric and telephone companies, and rent recipient companies. All these companies have employees, overhead, supplies, and savings also. How the second set of companies spends the dwindling part of this original dollar has to be counted as business, and each successive expenditure ad infinitum until the round off becomes zero, as in 0.4 cents. The big picture of the rippling of the dollar looks like this, and when one counts up the totals in wages, goods and services, replacement goods, overhead, and savings that must be counted at each business, the total comes to $4.61 of business created from the original dollar. A very important part of this multiplicative drive on the economy is determined by the propensity to spend. Think of this as what percent of wages go into spending in the marketplace. If the low end of the economy is close to living hand to mouth, and their withholding and Social Security deductions are minimized, they will have close to unity propensity to spend. Their wage times this percentage yields the input dollar. Dollar for dollar with wage, when they spend all of their take-home and little is removed. The high end has a vastly greater income with higher taxes and doesn't need more toys. They save and invest a lot, so 20 to 40% of their gross income before taxes may be spendable. Dollar for dollar of income then gives the low end of the wage earners 3 times the drive on the economy than dollars earned at the top. The multiplier ensures creation of the jobs needed to pull us out of our depression. It doesn't work to give more money to the rich end, as in Reagan, Bush, Obama.